Nope.
I saw one phone number connect, but I don't recognize it.
Okay. I'll call this. Are you started?
Yep, we should be up and running.
Okay, I'm going to call this Board of Selectmen special meeting to order.
Okay. Shall we,
Why don't
do you want to do the pledge?
Oh, yeah. Let's do Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
I just want you to know, Jenny stood up in her office and put her hand.
Oh, Ginny, so good. Okay.
So,
All
Dan,
right,
do we have
so-
somebody who wants to join us?
Looks like we've got one phone caller right now.
Okay, why don't you let him in?
Hi, guys.
Okay.
It's Will and Jean.
Hey, Will,
Surprise.
Gene.
I was going to guess that.
Will, you enjoying the Candlewood Lake Authority? I hear you're doing good things.
Mhm.
I am enjoying it. I've learned more in 2 weeks on CLA than I've known in 23 years of being on the lake, so it's been great.
Mhm. Yes, I Zoomed the meeting as well, and it was very nice to see Will there, and he got a nice welcome from everyone and said he's doing a
Well,
great job.
I think
Yeah, good.
with all the new people we're getting on the CLA, I sense a new energy, a new desire to really move things forward more quickly. So I think that's good.
Yeah.
God knows
very-
we have issues.
Mhm.
We really do. So what should we start with? Will, Jean, do you have any questions for the Board of Selectmen?
I was just wondering when the Christmas tree will be lit up
Which Christmas tree?
at Town Hall. Well, any
The
of
Girl
them.
Scouts,
And then
the Girl Scouts are gonna light the one at Town Hall next Saturday night, I believe,
Okay,
December 5th. Does that sound right?
I can
Oh.
confirm that as we're speaking, because it's something
Yeah,
that the
December
club is
5th.
involved with. Oh, did you? Yeah, you got that?
Yeah, it's gonna be the 5th, but what they're gonna do is, it'll be remote, people in their cars. I think they're gonna play a little bit of music. They're not gonna, I don't think they're gonna have food, they're not gonna have drinks. They're just gonna try to keep it really, really safe, which is the right
Right.
thing to do, I think. And then I believe the one in downtown will be lit on the 12th.
No,
Again,
I
they're
heard
gonna
one
have,
was canceled.
oh, let me, you know what, maybe Kathy, you know what? You are right, Kathy Creighton canceled the one downtown. I'm
Right.
sorry.
okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
So, yeah. So the one on December 5th, then Saturday the 5th.
Right, right.
There had been conversations about Santa. Do you know if Santa is still going to be there?
I do not know.
Okay.
Yeah, the one in downtown is canceled. Sorry.
Mhm.
I don't know if they're gonna have Santa because I think little kids always want to run up to Santa. And
Yeah.
they're not using, we're gonna allow them to use town hall, but just for bathrooms.
Okay.
So they're not gonna have where you can sit with Santa, I know that.
And no high school chorus singing.
No.
Okay.
No. So I think it's basically, it's like going to the drive-in. You can come
Mhm.
sit in your car. I think they're gonna play some music on a stereo and then light the tree. It'll be nice.
Mhm.
You know, it's nice to try to keep some traditions in some
Oh,
way, shape, or
yeah.
form.
Yeah. Okay.
So is anybody coming home, Sue, or are you just gonna be you and Les all by yourselves with a big old turkey?
We're not sure.
Okay,
It depends. The teacher son has some quarantine students, so he's not real comfortable, and so we'll see. I think we lost Steve there.
For Thanksgiving.
Who's that?
Did you ask for Will and Jean, Steve?
Yes, I did. I was wondering what
Yeah,
you're
we're just the two of us here with a 9-pound turkey.
Mm,
doing. My daughter, we decided to like get a week's worth of food. So she went out last Thursday morning around 6:30 and just bought a ton of food, so we don't have to go to Costco or BJ's or anywhere while the crowds are crazy. And last night, Jack is home because he got tested and he has been isolated for over 14 days and then got tested. So he came home Friday and he's staying through the next week and he'll just work from our house. So we're pretty comfortable with that. Last night, he goes down to get something out of the fridge. He says, something doesn't smell right in this fridge.
Oh, no.
It was the turkey. And Kate, when she went to get the turkey, the smallest turkey she could get is 25 pounds.
Mm.
So she had to return it today and got another one, which is 24 and a half pounds. So we're going to be eating turkey till it comes out of. That's the
I see
only
soup
side-
in your future. Yeah. So Steve, I'll ask the elephant in the room. How are we doing with COVID this week so far? Since
So
your
far
last
this
report.
week, I don't have an update from Doc yet. Usually he starts on Tuesday. If it goes the way it's gone the last 3 weeks, cases continue to rise. We had 10 people hospitalized, 9 people have died. We have about 300, it depends on whose numbers you use, but about 350 cases in town. About 140 of those are in the last three and a half weeks. So it's really going in the wrong direction. And we're urging everybody, please be careful. I had a gentleman call me this morning, I won't use his name, who told me that masks are a hoax. The virus is a hoax. He has the right to go into any store without a mask. And I have no right under federal and state constitutions to stop him. It was an interesting conversation.
Tell me
But
what
it is-
store you're going to. I'll stay away.
I don't know. He's going to sue the town. He's going to sue the store. I said to him, well, if you're going to do that, you should probably sue the governor also, because it's his executive orders that we're following. And I said to him, I said, you have no problem. You walk into a store, no shirt, no shoes, no service. How hard is it to wear a mask for 15 minutes to keep other people safe? He said, it gives me headaches. I said, well, okay. I said, but don't you care about other people? He says, it's everybody's immune system. This is no worse than the flu. And I said to him, I saw a report this morning from South Dakota, which is on fire relative to Brookfield, that on Saturday they had 62 deaths on Saturday from COVID. Last year, they had 42 deaths all year from the flu. This is not the same thing. And he was insisting it was. I said, it's not, it's much more deadly. Much more deadly. I mean, during the flu season, did you hear of anybody being intubated on a ventilator? I didn't hear of it. It may have happened once or twice. This is much worse, much more dangerous. It's much more virile. But I guess everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
And Brookfield in itself have had 10 deaths. So
Yeah,
I'm sorry, 9 deaths, but
nine, yeah.
10 hospitalized.
And luckily none since, I believe, May, which is great. I think older people are being much more careful. People at risk are being much more careful, so that we're protecting that portion of our society who's more at risk. But, I drove by Gray's Bridge weekend before last, and there was a baseball game going on, and there were at least 60, 70 people at the game on the benches. Virtually no one was wearing masks. Virtually no one was social distancing. And that's what happens. It's these gatherings and you get these super spreaders, people who are asymptomatic and have no idea and probably never will have any idea that they have the virus and they're spreading it.
And sports being one of the areas that you're seeing an increase of spread from.
Yeah, the governor has just closed down every sport, basically, because that's where we're seeing huge jumps in the virus. And, they're going from the kids to the families.
Right.
And in Brookfield, it's when we're getting cases, we're getting 4 and 5 cases in a household, because it's very hard to separate. And sometimes you don't know till it's too late. Because this can incubate for 3, 4, 5, 6 days. And in some cases, they still never know that they had the virus. And they don't know who brought it home.
Hey, Steve, Will here. Can I ask a question?
I'm sorry, say again, Will?
This is Will. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So in that spirit of that subject, I'm noticing that the businesses are starting to take their outdoor tents down. Is that as a result of any town regulation, or are that they just doing that because it's now getting so cold they're just not getting the?
No, it's not due to
outdoor,
town regulation.
Okay.
They did change the regulations a little bit on the tents, that if you have 3 sides up, that's considered an indoor space. And you can't put the heaters, you know, those propane heaters inside a tent. So they're just going to try to move indoors.
Okay. Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mm.
So we got a grant, Sue. Did I tell you about our grant?
No, do tell.
We won the steep grant for 120. We got the max you could get, $126,000.
Mhm.
And we're going to redesign some of the town offices to make them safer for both our employees and the residents and improve the workflow. We're going to start with land use.
Yeah, I know that they had requested it for our budget last year and we just didn't have it in there.
Mhm.
I mean, as far as efficiency, it's a space that is growing in people, but not, square foot wise. So I think getting things microfiched or however scanning, however, we do it these days will free up some space and make it much healthier for everybody.
Yeah. Because right now we believe we can move or get rid of 20 filing cabinets,
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
partly by digitizing stuff and then also by moving it out of those offices into a storage area we're setting up. So it will not only allow us to more effectively design the space, right? It'll allow us to grow if we need to add people and add them safely. Because now we can't just have a desk 3 feet from another desk going forward. I don't think we're ever going to be able to go back to that. We have to be ready if there's another pandemic, God forbid.
And if I recall correctly, it's the setup is, some people aren't necessarily next to the people that they should be next to. And so
Yeah.
just, rearranging is going to
Yeah,
make a
we're
lot
going to
more sense.
rearrange and try to streamline it so you don't have to walk 50 feet to talk to somebody you need to. Because, like Doc Sullivan, our Director of Public Health, is now where WPCA used to be, right? And our original thought was to move Paul Avery and Lisa Yu, sanitarian and the Assistant Health Director, over by him. But we're going to reverse that. We're going to bring him over by them and just rearrange the whole space so everybody's closer together. And then we're going to get we're going to drag them into the 21st century. And instead of using pink paper and green paper and yellow paper to write up their permits and penalties and whatever, we're going to put them online, hopefully. Get a system where they go out with an iPad. Okay, here you go, here you go, here you go. Okay, and sign it right on the iPad. There's your building permit, what's your email address, and shoot it to them. Right now, we're still paper for that.
So you don't end up with 26 file cabinets again.
Right. And those are some of the file cabinets that we're going to digitize. There's also a lot of rules and laws. Like right now, we're being told that if you have a development, you must keep the plans for that development forever.
Oh.
Now, some of those things are this thick and, they're 3 feet by 4 feet. That doesn't see, and they're saying, and we're double checking this, that you have to keep it in paper form. That doesn't seem to make sense in this day and age.
Not now.
You got a development done in the 60s. Do you really need the paper form? Can't you just digitize it and put it in a file, which we're fully capable? So we're working through all of that stuff and it'll work pretty well, I think. Of course, we have other departments. How come I'm not going first? Right? Well, and our reason was, one, the land use fire marshal building is the most crowded, the most disjointed office. They clearly don't have enough space now, and they have the highest need, the greatest need.
Mhm.
because these people are on top of each other.
Right. Can I ask John Lucas a question?
Hey, how are you?
Hi, John. So you are our social media person. Do you have any questions for us from what you've been hearing on
Let's
social
see.
media?
You know, I have to aggregate all of the complaints and half-truths and misinformation that's out there. But I think a lot of people are probably going to be curious about the moratorium on affordable housing, which is due to expire at some point, I would imagine, soon.
Next
right?
July.
Next July. Are we working on consolidating more information to submit for another one?
We have, yes, we have gone through and added up all of the new affordable housing we brought into town. And we believe we have increased enough to apply for another moratorium to keep control. And we just hired an attorney, that the same one that we hired the first go round. She's an expert in affordable housing. She works for Neil Marcus's firm, Cohen and Wolf. And she was great last time. So we'll probably have that application into the state in the February timeframe, and it expires in July. And we're relatively confident that we'll have enough increase in affordable to keep the moratorium. We can show that we added affordable. And, you know, we've discussed this many times before. If you lose the moratorium, it's the wild, wild west. People can build anything they want.
Right, and that's really the stipulation, is that during the moratorium, you have to show that you've grown your affordable housing stock, even though you were under a moratorium, right? And then if you prove that, that's really what they want to see, it sounds like.
Right. It's
Getting everything together.
controlled growth of the affordable, which we support. I think, Sue, you support it too, right? But I only support it along Federal Road, where there are facilities and services of bus lines and capability to go shopping if you don't have a car. Putting in affordable housing out in a residential area makes no sense at all. None. You know, we do have that one on Stony Hill at the bottom of Wisconneer, which we just told them flat out, no. They wanted to put 29 units on 10 acres in a 2-acre zoning with a septic system. We know how well those septic systems worked for the condominiums, right? Where we had to run the sewer lines to 3 different condominiums. So we're still against that. It's just doesn't make sense. And I've been going back and forth with Neil Marcus on that. He hasn't come back. The last time I talked to him, I said, okay, you know, in order to avoid a lawsuit and a fight and going back and forth and spending $100,000, you know, we'll let you have 9 units right, on 10 acres, right? Make 3 of them affordable. They don't want to do that. They want a ridiculous. It's a residential area, you know,
Right.
and they're trying to use the affordable housing to get it passed without going through zoning, without going through planning, without going through land use. You know, the only reason we'd stop one of these is for health or safety. And if you meet all those requirements, you could build a 10-story building out there. But we think we have a very strong case.
Right. And that really is, you know, the consideration that we had taken into account with the moratorium in the past too, is, you know, the attractiveness of a building as well. You know, they can put up anything that they want, but at least with a moratorium, you know, we can say what they, you know, that it has to match the you know, the surroundings. It has to.
Right. It has to fit into a New England rural town atmosphere. We don't want you building a 7-story building like the guy at 77 wanted, 777 Federal Road wanted. You know, with this, if you don't have the moratorium, somebody can come in and build a 10-story concrete building with teeny windows and flat concrete, because aesthetics don't come into the design, and that's not what we want. I don't think anybody in town wants that.
And we have to realize too that, you know, affordable in Brookfield is still not all that affordable. I mean, the idea is to keep our teachers here. We've had teachers buy into, you know, Brookfield and some of the condos. It's fantastic.
But you know, the problem with that, Sue, you raise a good point, is our teacher, our firemen, our police all make too much money to afford to move into affordable. They don't qualify. They make too much money. So you know, it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act. And I think we're doing it the right way. You know,
Right.
we have to renew the moratorium because somebody will come in, especially with all these people with a pandemic and all these people wanting to move out of New York City and Westchester, right? Our conveyances have doubled from last year, the sale of properties,
Wow.
doubled. Because people really, they not only now want to have a place they can go for the summer, they want a place they can hunker down and bunker in if worse came to worse. And they don't want to do it in New York City. I wouldn't want to. Too dangerous, too dangerous.
Good. I think that's really the only thing that I gleaned from all of the various posts. And not that I'm doing that on my personal volition. It's not, no official capacity, obviously. It's just, I happen to have the phone next to me and I can't help myself sometimes. Because it's a little frustrating because we have these open forums available where people can dial in and get some information if they have questions. And too often they just go to Facebook and they get half the story, so.
Half the story, a quarter of the story, or the entire story is wrong. I mean, I know I had a gentleman call me about a year ago and literally was virtually almost screaming at me. You just snuck this new school project right by everybody, didn't you? And I said, what do you mean? He says, I haven't heard word one about this. And you just built this and that. I said, sir, there have been over 20 public meetings about the school project. There have been forums to invite the public. You can see it in the newspaper. There are at least 10 articles in the newspaper. It's on the town website. You can sign up for our newsletters. Oh, I don't do the internet and I don't read the newspaper. Well, sir, how am I supposed to get this information to you? Do you want me to personally come knock on your door? It seems a little over the top, right?
Yeah. Yeah, to some degree, you have to seek out the knowledge yourself. You have to take that step. And,
So with Branson, we gave them their CO for their manufacturing facility today.
Oh, good. Great.
And we'll be getting them their CO for the rest of their building. They should be ready by end of December, first week, second week in January, which would be good. The assisted living is now really moving along. Have you seen it, John?
Oh yeah, you can't miss it. You really can't. When you come up that hill, it's there. It's going to change the landscape.
They had slowed down for a while, and what I understood was that some part of their financing didn't work, or their bank pulled out, or something like that. But they've been able to re-get the financing, so they should have that finished, I think, in another 6 to 9 months, which is good. The Italian restaurant in Brookfield Village is, I don't know how they're going to open, but they're almost completely finished with fitting that out. And I would imagine they'll wait a little while. And Brookfield Village on Friday got their building permit for the 2 new buildings.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And those, right now, they're saying the cost of those is about $7 million. So that'll be good. And that's all market rate. And that's where they already have the Asian Fusion restaurant signed up to come in as soon as it's built. So that restaurant's time, they should be finished by next summer, fall, early fall. So hopefully this pandemic will be over by then and everybody will have a vaccination. We can start to get back to normal. But I think everybody's ready to get back to normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the supermarket, is that still slated to begin in the spring of 21 or?
Right now, yes. I've talked to the developers and they are still moving forward. They're before planning and they're going to zoning and they have to go to inland wetlands. Inland wetlands will probably be their most difficult board to go through because there are some wetlands there. But their design is to stay away from wetlands. And so that ostensibly they say is still moving forward. And remember, that's where we're going to get over 50 parking spaces dedicated to municipal parking. And you saw 20 Station Road is for sale?
I did, yeah.
So it looks like a developer who's doing a development north of that, I had thought he had an agreement to buy that property because he wants to put an egress from his development through 20 Station Road. You know, you have an in and you want an out. We always want two ways to get into a site. So we're talking to him because I'd love to somehow work it out with him that we get a parking lot there. Remember, it's still, that's where we did the testing. We got the grant to test it. There's no remediation for the dry cleaning fluids. So you don't want to dig down into the ground. The only thing you can do is cap it, right? And wait. Well, capping it with a parking lot would be perfect. And, you know, we have that under blight, 20 Station Road, and they've incurred $21,000 in fines already. And last week, we perfected our lien and got approval from the courts to file that lien against the property. So it can't be sold without us getting paid our fines. And
Right, so we won't forgive that, right? There'll be no.
Now we can't.
Okay.
We can't now. You know, we're willing to work with people who have blighted properties, you know, give them time, give us a plan, tell us what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. We'll work with you. They've ignored us pretty much for 3.5 years since we implemented the blight ordinances. And there are a couple other properties, the barnyard, you know, where the barnyard was. We got them to cut the grass in the front this summer a couple times, but it's still a mess. It's still, in my opinion, blighted. And the next one we're going to have is what I call Tara. You know, the house in front of the bowling alley that got hit by the tree.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
And the problem with Tara, that's my name for it, is that it's on the National Historic.
Why are you calling it Tara?
Because it reminds me of Tara, Gone with the Wind.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's a little young.
Gotcha. No, I get you. Okay. Okay.
Gone with the Wind.
I thought it was like an acronym or something for some program or something.
It's on a National Historic site. So whenever you work on a National Historic building, the rules are unbelievable. You got to use the same type of wood and the same layout. You can't put vinyl siding up. You have to have the same type of windows. So if they want to fix that, now you're talking probably $300,000, $400,000, $500,000.
Have they tarped it anyway to cover the hole?
No, I drove by it this weekend and it's still open. So we're probably going to be bringing that up before the blight committee, because now that's definitely blighted, in my opinion. And we may even be to a point where we can say, you know, under blight, we have the right, under extreme circumstances, to take a building down if it threatens the health and safety or public welfare. I think that building might approach that. It's very hard to do. The courts look very askance at a town taking over a property and demolishing it. You really have to have.
It's not secure. I mean, you have anyone go in there. That's a trap. That's, yeah.
I think that building could collapse on itself, given the structural damage to it.
And it's close to that liquor store, and it is close to the entrance to the new bowling alley. You know, I know they've rebranded, and you know.
Yeah, so, and I also think it's an attractive nuisance in the sense that, like pools are, you could attract neighborhood kids when you're not home. That's why we require you to put a fence around your pool. So we're going to have to do something with that sooner or later, because I think it's dangerous. I think if somebody went in there and it collapsed, it's a mess. So,
well, we had an issue with the house that was close by there. Remember that? At least a decade ago. That sort of over the weekend, something happened and it came down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So the problem with blight, I sent a note out. John, I don't think I copied you. Nelson Malwitz of Newberry Village sent us a note, very concerned about blight in the town center in particular and across town, and was wondering, why don't we create laws? Why don't we do a bunch of things to fix the blight? And I sent him a note today. I said, we've been working on this. We created these ordinances 3.5 years ago. The problem is the state is very, very averse to allowing a town to tell anyone what to do on their property. So in order to take people before blight, we have to give them 3 different bites at the apple, as our town attorney puts it, to correct it, even before we can fine them. And if people do not want to participate and do not want to work with the town, they can basically tell us to go away. Now, our only option then is to fine them, but we don't want to fine them. We just want them to fix up the properties.
Yeah.
That's what
Right.
our goal is, you know, and there are some property owners, we had one in last month. They have been getting notices since 2017 to clean up their property, never ever responded. We perfected a lien on their property about 4 weeks ago. Guess when they came in? 3.5 weeks ago. That's too late. The
Wow.
lien's already there. I can't change that. And you still have to clean up your property because you're still incurring $100 a day fine. And this property is egregious. It looks like, you know, a war zone. There's
Yeah.
stuff all over the yard. And most people are pretty good in working with us. I mean, we have a couple houses from the macro burst where a lady her insurance company won't give her the money to fix her house, right? They won't pay her. She has to fix it first and then they'll refund her after, and she doesn't have the money to do it. You know, we'll work with people like that. You know,
Yeah, I would
we try to
imagine
help.
in that scenario, wouldn't you want to point her to, you know, some social services that may be available, or,
Well,
right?
no, she's relatively, you know, she lives in California now. She owns a house, but she's
Okay.
not wealthy by any means, but she doesn't meet the needs.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
She just doesn't have $250,000 to fix her house, which had two
Right.
trees fall off. But that's
Steve?
where, yeah, go ahead, Sue. You
Um,
wanna say something?
So we talked about one supermarket. How about the other one? Is there any word on that one yet?
Yeah, they're moving ahead. They're moving ahead. Their goal, the developer and the owner of the property, Raymore and Flanagan, have told the client who they're building a super hush hush, nobody knows the name of supermarket. They
It's
had to
high tech. They
guarantee
call
that
it high tech.
yeah, high tech.
High
They had to
tech.
guarantee that it would be up and running by next September.
Mm.
So they're gonna have to move really quickly because they're taking out walls, because you know, they're combining TJ Maxx and CVS. So they're taking out walls. They got to bring in a lot of piping and air conditioning and electricity. They're not doing much on the outside except the new facade in the front, but they know what they're doing. These guys have done this.
A lot of overhead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking they're probably going to put in $3 or $4 million worth of personal property that we can tax, right?
Right.
Each electronic cart must be worth $400, right? You see little dollar signs dancing through John Lucas's head.
Right through my head.
Right through your head.
That's right.
So yeah,
Perfect timing
unbelievable.
for the school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is, and that's going to help a lot. And I'm surprised at the level of development in Brookfield, given the pandemic. But these are outside jobs for the most part, right? And we didn't, like New York State stopped all construction. They may have started up, but for a long time, they just stopped all construction. We didn't do that. So the problem our developers are having, like Brookfield Village, is getting their architects and their HVAC guys to finalize the designs, because people are out of the office. People have quit. People are not working, but they finally gotten it there, and people are learning to work their way through it, which is good. Which is good. John, how come you're not out on your back deck? I think you should be out in the back deck where it's safer.
You know, I know it's starting to get a little cold, so I had to come inside.
So what else? Anything else we got to go over? I don't think so.
How about Will and Jean? Did we spark any other questions for you?
Well, I don't have a question, but I do have something I want to tell you guys. I was so impressed with what Parks and Rec put together for the fall. The poker run and the scavenger hunt and all that. They just were very creative. They did a great job.
They did.
Yes, they did. Between them and the library, we are so blessed to have such creative people who are just thinking about all the residents and keeping us, you know, happy and sane and entertained. Yeah.
You're
Thank you,
right.
Jean.
Yeah, they
We actually went to one of the story times at the library when they had the police dog there.
Oh, right.
Were you able to follow the story?
Barely. Will's son was a canine handler for the police in Norwich, so We're familiar with these dogs, so we wanted to go see this.
Yeah,
Oh,
they,
nice.
they both have done above and beyond. Though I have to say, we had, the Parks and Rec wanted to do an event, a nighttime find the candy cane, you know, like hidden treasures. And Doc Sullivan said today, given the way this is going, he's not going to allow it. It's too dangerous. It's just with little kids running around, breathing on each other. And that's a shame because that's, I think, a great idea. Kids love that, like the Easter egg hunt. But we're continuing to shut things down. The library's closed now. It's only delivery at the door, which was still, believe it or not, even after they opened up, 85% of their business was picking up books at the door. And they've got this neat program for kids where you fill out a little survey, what things do you like? And then the librarians will pick 10 books for you. And one mom wrote in to say, you guys are fantastic. My daughter loved every single book. You know, and how many times you go in the library and you look at books for half an hour and you can't pick, right? There's too many to pick from. So they're doing a great job. They really are.
They are. Yeah, we should all be very proud of them.
Yeah. So probably next week, I talked to Sue about this, John, but we're going to be going to alternating weeks with staff in and working remotely. And town hall is closed to walk in right now because I think, at least from what Doc tells me and for what CDC says, after Thanksgiving, we're going to see a bump because of Thanksgiving. I pray we don't, but it looks like we are. So we want to have at least staff safe, right? So we'll alternate weeks, at least probably through the end of the year. And I think, Sue, you've agreed that that's probably the right thing.
And I think and I think that, you know, the thinking behind that is you're always going to have a team that's ready to take over if one of the other cohorts,
Right.
someone gets sick and has to stay home. So
Yeah, because if somebody gets sick this week, we're going to keep all of that entire staff out. We're going to have them quarantined. But then we have the whole weekend, even if it happens on a Friday, we have the whole weekend to clean, to allow the virus to die. And then the second team comes in. And that, I think, could happen. You know, we've had a couple people who've had a quarantine because they've had direct exposure to somebody with COVID-19. We don't have any employees except for one back in May who have actually gotten COVID-19, but we've had some pretty close brushes. And we've had, like, Parks and Rec is closed this week because of that. Somebody was sick in Parks and Rec. They were quarantining at home, and they tested negative, but sometimes you can test negative and then test positive. So we just closed it this week and they're working from home just to be on the safe side. Because we don't have a ton, John, you know, we don't have a ton of bench strength. You know, we don't have 6 people that we can just throw at a job.
Right. Yep.
And so I think that's a safer way to go. And,
well,
you know,
I think your success is, you know, result of taking the actions that you have.
yeah.
So it's worked. Yeah.
I
So
think-
keep doing that and go back to what we were, you know, earlier when the numbers were that much higher too.
Yeah, it sucks. It's not fun, but I think staying ahead of it, being a little more proactive is a better way to go than being reactive. You know, waiting for 3 cases to come up in town hall and then I'm shutting the whole place for 2 weeks and nobody can come in, right? We've said this before, Sue and I have talked about it, it's a balancing act, you know?
It's a huge liability too. So you want to get in front of that, even for the schools. You know, they might be being some people might think they're being too excessive by closing schools till the 4th of December, but it's just a liability. It's a large population that you're responsible for, you know?
It is. And the schools, in the last report John sent out that I saw, there's something like 115 people quarantining because of exposure. Now, we've not had a case that we've seen of in-school transmission, but if you got 115 quarantining, you know that there's other people that have been exposed and just aren't aware of it and probably have it and are asymptomatic. So I think the schools made the right decision there. I know it's really tough for parents. I would not want to have oh my goodness. I would not want to have 4 kids in middle school and grade school home learning. Oh my goodness gracious. I'd be in the office 14 hours a day. Sorry, Cassie.
Yeah, I was telling Dan, I think earlier, that my son, who is the high school teacher, in a different district in Connecticut, he's had half of his class quarantine, and they're still bringing the teachers in. So I just wish that they would go the same route as Brookfield.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and one thing I wanted to tell you all, Dom Min, our IT manager, has retired as of Friday. And
Right.
Dan has graciously agreed to become our director of IT for the town side. And
Oh,
we're looking at a bunch of things.
Congrats.
Dan,
Congratulations, Dan.
Well
Thank you,
deserved.
everybody.
Dan has done a phenomenal job over the last
Oh, yeah.
6 months, over and above what anyone could ask of him. So we were very happy that he agreed to do that, and we're going to move forward. We may be making some changes. We're going to look and see, do we need to hire more staff? Dan's going to come back to me next month and tell me part-time or full-time, or what do we need, what don't we need,
Mhm.
right? My personal opinion is it's a lot for one person, but Dan you wouldn't lie to me, would you, Dan?
No. And like I was telling you before, we'll see as it comes. I mean, hopefully it stays slow. Obviously, we've seen how busy it can get.
So then we're going to try, if we do that, maybe get some cross-training with the schools, because they have an IT professional in each school. They have Eric here, 2 people here at Town Hall, no, 1 person here at Town Hall. And maybe we can do some cross-training. So if we need help and Dan's on vacation, maybe one of their guys can come help us, right?
Yeah.
And
that's
vice
pretty much
versa.
what we do now. Like Eric was out last week, so they know they can come over to our side. Same thing, just working together.
Yeah, we may
Smart.
formalize that a little bit more, but I think it's a good idea just to have
Yes.
that redundancy and backup.
Good.
Yeah, very good idea.
Yeah, because Dan will just hit the ground running. He knows how everything works. That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Talk about Park and Rec. He was, working at the concerts this summer. So he's quite involved and willing to help anyone. So
Yeah, that's
Yes.
great.
we're lucky to have him.
So I don't think I have anything else to cover. Sue, do you have anything you want to?
I think we're good.
Yeah.
I miss
John?
our in-person coffee. It's
Yes,
it's unfortunate, but I guess hopefully in the spring, right? We can
Yeah.
get back to doing it.
Yeah, on that, and I was talking to Doc about this, Pfizer said they will have 50 million doses by the end of December, and everybody's going, oh, Lordy, we're saved. He's saying that's 50 million doses for the entire world of 3 billion people. And that's really 250 million people, because you need 2 shots.
Right.
So if you break that out by population, the United States would get 1% to 2% of those. So we need hundreds and hundreds of millions of doses. And I just don't want people to think, oh, January 1st, everybody's going to be able to get a shot. That's not going to be the case.
Right.
Yeah, I think they're going through a process identifying
The protocol.
part of the population that, first responders and elderly, people at risk.
Yeah.
And they're
Right.
working their way down. So
Yeah.
eventually we'll all have an opportunity.
Yeah, and they're even talking about, do they give it to doctors and nurses in the hospitals? And I thought, why would they even talk about that? But, my number 2 son, Connor, is in a long-term relationship with a nurse, and she's a nurse in an ICU unit in the hospital. And I was talking to her weekend before last, and she said, Steve, I feel safer in the hospital than I do in the grocery store, because everyone in the hospital is following the protocols and being safe 100% of the time. She said, that's not true in the supermarket.
True.
Right.
And I think we've learned
I
so
never thought
much.
of it that way.
Right. We've learned so much from the beginning.
Yep.
That they know, protocols to take now. Because I know a lot of, first responders were getting sick. But you're right. It's not like it was. But.
Yeah. And we got our, one other thing.
We learned masks.
Yeah.
Wear masks.
We got our first check from grants. We got $217,000 last Friday.
For the COVID?
For COVID related.
Excellent.
That's up to June of 2020, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
30. Yeah.
That's great. That's huge.
So
that's everything we asked for, right?
Oh, geez.
Isn't
No,
it?
no.
Well, up to June though, I thought that was the number that,
Yeah.
the max, I think.
We loaded in, well, the way they did this, and this was really frustrating. And we learned we had a leg up because of the macro burst and FEMA. And they also did in April is they sent out a survey. Can you give us an idea? This is one question. Can you give us an idea what your COVID related costs are going to be through June 30th? Guess what? That's the number they used to reimburse people. And they never asked again.
Oh my
So
God, you're kidding me.
I got every one of our departments, I want you to write down every single possible expense you have, right? Even if they throw it out, like with FEMA, throw it in the mix, they can always deny it. But if you don't put it in the first place and it was eligible afterwards, you can't go back. So Brookfield came out number 41 out of 169 in total reimbursements.
Wow.
We got more money back than some cities of 60, 70, 80,000 people because the way they did this, they did it as a survey. So it was, take a guess what you think it's going to be. We didn't take a guess. We
had the
listed
numbers.
everything. And so that was a good thing. But we learned that from working with FEMA 2.5 years ago.
The hard way.
The hard way, right? The very hard way. So that was good.
Oh, that's great. Great.
All right.
Okay. So
Well-
Jean, Will, any other questions, comments, suggestions?
No, we're good. Thank you very much. We appreciate this.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, well, we thank you for joining us, and you kind of like got a special place in our hearts. Even
Well, likewise.
When we were dialing in today for coffee with the community, I said, we might be the community.
yeah, you are the community. Well, and you know,
I think you are.
I really do wish, and I know Sue feels this way, and so does John. I wish more people paid a little more attention to what's going on in town. You know, look at the town website once in a while. Don't just go on Facebook. There's a lot of poor or incorrect information on Facebook. And some people are grinding axes on Facebook and other social network sites. So you're not getting a clean picture. And I say to people, just call my office. We'll tell you whatever you want. But it's really hard to get people engaged sometimes.
Can I ask you real quick? Iroquois baseball fields, any talk of that?
Yeah, you know, we've been working mostly on the water line. You know, the Board of Finance approved putting in the water line. So we're finalizing that. So we haven't gone back to the subject of fields with the MBC in about 2 months. And I talked to Paul Checo a couple weeks ago. And since we're getting into the final design stage here, we have to make that decision. Iroquois project is still moving forward. And that is going to be a big boon for the town because they're saying it's 90 to $100 million. That would be $2 million a year in taxes in 2023. That's 3% of our budget. So that would be a big boon and will help us get over the hump with the new school and other projects that we want to do. But we haven't, we had asked the Iroquois if they would give us some property next to Wisconsin School so we could move further back, right? And put one 90-foot diamond there and one 60-foot diamond. That's still in the planning stage. That land does fall off rather sharply once you get past the end of the field, all the way in the back. But there's a lot of moving parts here. Iroquois wants to move the fence up. You know, they bought the 2 houses across the street from their property.
I didn't know.
So now they own everything at the end of the road on both sides. So they want to move the fence up to their property line on the road. The problem with that is the town owns about 11 acres past their property. So maybe we can get them to buy our 11 acres or buy something else, swap with us, right, and work something out. They've been pretty accommodating and willing to listen to us. So that's still to be determined, but that's a good question. And
Yeah, because, you know, again, there's a sore spot for the loss of the fields and the lack of fields in the overall school plan. So,
yeah. Well, we at least have to put in a 90-foot, replace what was there, right?
Yeah.
Which is a 90-foot and a 60-foot. There isn't quite the demand for baseball as there was in the past, like when my kids were playing. You know, just not as many kids, but we still want to give them as much playing fields as they need. So we're going to continue to go through that conversation.
Great.
That's a good question, though.
That's a great question. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you're right. It's a great question.
Come on.
So I think we can wrap this up, and I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and please be safe. And we'll probably talk to you, well, probably in the next 2 days for you, Sue and John. And Will, thank you again for working on the CLA. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for the confidence.
Bye,
Okay.
guys.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
Thank you. Happy
Everybody.
Thanksgiving.